So chillin', like having like an idea for a video. I was trying to think of something, and like I posted a lot today and could have talked about like a lot of different stuff, but like I'm stuck on the Mental Health Act, and like I've been thinking about it for the past like half hour or something, and had Grok construct a couple of arguments around what the hospital did wrong earlier in 2026 versus what they're doing wrong now, etc. And like found it messed up, and like not sure what to make of it because like I don't know. Like I anticipate like at some point they're gonna be like you're inappropriate online or something. They haven't like accused me of that, but it'd be accused me of being like so disabled I can't care for myself, or am like so unreasonable that like I can't be trusted to make decisions about my own treatment, etc. And like I think there's plenty of evidence in the world that contradicts their type of like aegis towards making those types of like disparaging arguments, etc. And like I don't know, I've like since doxed myself, but I emailed like Dr. Stevenson, who's not a treating psychiatrist of mine, and like asked him for a second medical opinion in an email, and it wasn't in a prescribed form, the form 11. And like I had sent one of those in asking for a a doctor from Victoria who's a practicing psychiatrist in Victoria should be able to get appointment with him, you'd think, in some like reasonable time frame. Yet I've heard nothing back from the director, nothing back from the hospital, and like prior to that, I had sent in uh, several or a few other Form 11s uh, this year, and like have heard nothing back from the hospital except for on one occasion Lance told me over the phone they must have lost it. And like I guess I followed up and they said they lost the other Form 11 that I sent in even after that. I was like asking for like to follow up on it and clarification that it was being like dealt with. And they told me they had a list of faxes that came in, and they searched for my name. I looked through them manually, and at first she like misspelled my name apparently, but it like seemed like she was searching manually, but she like also was typing, I guess. But like the clerk couldn't find my name on like the manifest of like documents that have been faxed to the health unit, I guess. So I found that strange as somebody deleting my like my ask for a requisition or whatever, but like so it's messed up. Don't know what else to say. I've been like denied like X-rays on my feet. I've been denied fMRIs on my head, and like they tried to insist on X-rays on my lungs at one point. So there's like some facts, I guess, that like are from the past couple of days that I was tweeting about, but have happened in like years previous, I guess, or happened in the years previous or whatever. But like I guess the fMRI thing's like recent in that like I like I sent an email with a link to like the live video I made that I recorded a doctor's interview with Dr. Slamp where or Dr. William Gustav Slamp and or Lance Tiffenbach was attending as well, and like I don't know, like at one point like I asked for like an fMRI and he's like talk to your doctor, And I think I said it was reasonable for like him to like slough it off, for the case manager to slough it off when I was talking to the doctor. And the doctor didn't interject and say like, yeah, I can do that easily. And even make money off it, frankly. So I know it's messed up. But like in the emails I sent like today, there's like arguments around the false imprisonment, which I've talked about like several times in live, and I've tweeted about and posted about on Medium, and even sent court documents to the court about, which have subsequently been rejected by the clerk, saying they weren't in the correct format, even though like I included all relevant information in an affidavit. So wondering about that, and I guess like the prescribed form thing, and like the fact like, I don't know, like I guess there's a certain way to like try and sue certain nurses, or to sue the hospital or a city for police work, or to sue the police, or to sue like the Solicitor General of the government. And like I saw the help from Premier Davies' book, How to Sue the Police, and like he talks about the Solicitor General. I'm having trouble talking apparently, but like the Solicitor General, like I know enough about that position. That's something I was gonna look up. But like, are they in charge of like just the police, or are they like in charge of like nurses and like doctors and police? Because I think like the signing of an illegal form is like the main contention, and a nurse did it, and like a nurse signed a warrant that when it wasn't possible for there to be a warrant signed, and like that's what I wanted to focus the lawsuit on. And it's kind of difficult because it's never been tried before in BC as far as I know, even though like I'm sure it's happened, and like prior to like my instance, and like my instance is a surefire case, like the hospital admits it as far as I know. At least they're like submissions of documents like suggest that they admit the February 9th Form 21 was completely illegal. So like wondering about that. First, like being falsely apprehended on February 10th, and do I have a lawsuit against the police because like they were the ones that actually like handcuffed me and put me in a police car and brought me to the hospital to be injected when Villar, or whatever, what was his name, the guy in Tumbler Ridge that like shot up the school. I was in the hospital being injected with Invigatrinza as that happened. I don't know if that's relevant, but like it's like a fun fact or something. And like, I don't know, they had no right to bring me back to the hospital. I was off the Mental Health Act. The form that the police like act diligently on was invalid. So like I wonder about like trying to go after the person that signed the form that was invalid, and like whether or not the Solicitor General is like culpable for the bad actions of Brett Murray, etc., the nurse, whatever. But like, so wondering about that. And like Invigatrinza lasts in your system over 500 days. It's like not a small imposition into like into life, and like there's like arm pain immediately for several days because the nurses don't know how to do shots. I've complained to the nurses body about Brett Murray's conduct in injecting people, where he stuck the needle in entirely and does it as slowly as possible. It causes like serious arm pain in the recipient for 3 days if they don't have like a massive deltoid muscle. And like I'm a male, I have bigger deltoid muscles than a lot of females, I think. And like it's caused terrible pain in me. And like there was a recent study in the UK that was done that showed like I can't remember the number, but it was like over a quarter of patients felt extreme arm pain after like, or felt it was like the majority of them felt pain after injections, etc. And like thinking that's like an underrated type of like harm that the hospital does that is said to be necessary. And like I don't know, there's like certain bad actors that like don't follow paperwork properly and falsely imprison people, or create processes that falsely imprison people. And then like when the same people also can't do an IM injection as like the lead nurse on the ward, it's a terrible thing and terrible optics for the hospital. I've been vocal about it, but haven't been able to gain much of like support or notoriety, at least much public support or notoriety around like trying to call out such. But like I've talked to the BCCNM, and like I don't know, like hoping that they'll deal with the needle stick injuries. But it's been nearly a year since I like submitted a complaint against Brett for his needle practices, etc. And like most recently, I complained about another male nurse, Lance, who like put a Band-Aid and an alcohol swab on my upper thigh when he was injecting me. I was like, that was like sexual abuse, I think. Even though like, honestly, I don't think it's that bad, and like I'm pretty chill. But like thinking like, that's obviously like a something you shouldn't do, and like ammo against him in some sense, and like something I wouldn't like support nurses doing to patients. So like I'm not like happy to complain about it, but in the complaint, like I complained about Brett and like him signing forms late, so I don't know if they'll incorporate that into any like impending decision about his needle stick practices, where he sticks the entire needle in and injects as slowly as possible. The needle's like 1.5 inches, I think. It's a 2-inch needle with a 0.5-inch needle guard. And he's used it without the guard too. But like, I don't know. It's fucked up shit. Brett's a torturer, terrible person, and a fascist, I think. And like, I don't know. I think Lance is two-faced. He seems like okay to me, generally, and like he mostly responded to me when we were texting. But like, at least when he was like on duty on hours or whatever. But like thinking he's also a fascist and like somebody who's untrustworthy, given like he didn't notify me of certain medication shots before or calls for medication shots before police showed up at my house. And like I was like surprised at it, and like I don't know, he got me essentially like injected, so I won't forgive him for that. I can't remember the exact circumstances of it, but there was that. There was also one time where I got a text from him when I was at the Longhorn pub having a pulled pork, but it was actually ribs in a sandwich with a beer, and they're like, the cops are like coming for you. So like I like left the pub and walked home, then was apprehended like shortly after I got home. Like I should have stayed out longer or something, but like It's a bad memory, I guess. I don't know. It's basically like what I emailed the doctors about was like I emailed them what I posted on Medium. First two things. We were talking about Section 15 and the fact they can't prejudicially inject people just because they're mentally ill. Everybody enjoys the right to freedom, equal freedoms. And like beyond that, like there was the first one that I kind of went over around like the certification issue where like I wasn't interviewed or observed after a false warrant. So like there's that. And I also added like Schlamp didn't note in the Form 4 like, yeah, I heard this through the ER physician. He like made it seem like he interviewed me and examined me. And like, or interviewed me and observed me and therefore examined me, but like he didn't, he wasn't even in the building, so it's fucked up. But like, it's basically, I don't know, like totally over the mental health act situation in the worst drug states I've been in years, and like totally ready to like do anything possible to be over it, but like, or to get through it in some sense, but like hoping that like the government backs up the people in some sense towards allowing basic human rights instead of foisting some sort of terrible I don't know, mental health treatment that they say is in the best interest of people, that has terrible side effects and consequences for people, that they essentially ignore and like as they ignore it, they overvalue the prospects of any types of benefits, and I think that's like the grave concern, and like the worst part about what has happened generally in some sense, because like they've already been arguing like the same shit, like you have no insight, you don't want to take your meds, it's like necessary, you're in need of it, it's beneficial, etc. And like they're likely to continue the same arguments, and like I anticipate the government trying to make certain space for such arguments, saying like all you have to do is say somebody has no insight, regardless of whether they have understanding of the medication, understanding of diagnosis, understanding of their own bodies, or of science, or of philosophy, English, whatever, like whatever the factors of insight are, and like thinking that like their only factor that they consider, or the Trump factor they have, is like saying like the person's not compliant, therefore we can give them drugs, and like thinking that's just another reiteration of team's consent. And like that's how it works in Ontario now. I've seen like capacity review boards that are basically ruled that, and I found it outrageous and illegal, and like I don't know, like hoping that there's like a big shift in BC psychiatry towards affording people certain rights, and like basic human rights are like you'd think they'd be given, but like there's still something being fought for by disabled people and their allies, whatever.